Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Josh Guillory Show. I am your grateful host. And in studio with me, Q Money Magic Man. What up, Q?
Another beautiful day in Lafayette, Louisiana.
Man, you ain't kidding, by the way. You want to go nuke?
Nuke?
Nuke, straight up nuclear.
Oh, yeah.
Let's go nuclear. Nuclear energy, though, guys. And good afternoon, by the way. Check us out over here from Lafayette, Louisiana. Also, check us out on rumble.com. Rumble.com. Look up the Josh Guillory Show. Check us out, man. All right, here's what's happening. Pretty real stuff in Louisiana. Pretty interesting. Folks didn't realize that maybe we'd be talking about this in 2026. I know I didn't, but it's interesting. So the state of Louisiana is making a pretty big push for nuclear energy. Not theory anymore. None of this talk. Real movement. And we've discussed this before, but it is definitely growing some legs and sprinting. So, few articles we can rely on. But several sources out there say that Turner Industries is moving its nuclear fabrication work out of Texas into Louisiana, specifically in New Iberia and I think Port Allen, if I'm not mistaken. So, very big news. It's a big deal. So, we're talking about not a big old nuclear facility. We're talking about the actual manufacturing of the components that go into. I was about to say component parts. That's a Louisiana law for property law, but components that go into nuclear plants. Okay, so high precision modules, nuclear grade piping, the kind of work that has to meet pretty strict federal standards if you think about it. So they're projecting the state of creating roughly 1,000 direct jobs. That's pretty neat, you know. Average salary around 77,000, plus another roughly 1,300 indirect jobs. So talk about real economic advancement, movement, at least in the Acadiana area, the Baton Rouge area. And this ties directly into a broader plan that the state had rolled out about a month ago when we talked about it. So none of this is random. Seems like there's been a plan. Seems like they're trying to execute that plan. And so you may have recalled a couple weeks ago, maybe a month ago, the governor and other Louisiana leaders launched what they're calling a nuclear strategic framework. So that's a statewide roadmap. Goal, pretty simple: make Louisiana a hub for the next generation of nuclear energy. Now, don't think we're talking about 3 Mile Island or anything like that. None of these big old Homer Simpson type nuclear plants. But specific, and we'll go into that in a little bit. We had some very educated callers calling in talking about nuclear modulars and mobile and all that stuff. So, very learned audience, of course. But the state's focused on four areas, okay? Manufacturing components, expanding nuclear power generation, fuel conversion, and fuel enrichment. So those are the four areas. Not just building plants. The entire supply chain is what we're looking at. From parts to power to fuel, which would be pretty interesting going from oil and gas to, you're not going from oil and gas to nuclear, but generation of electricity and power comes in a lot of forms. And nuclear has been around for a while. A lot of folks say it's cleaner than anything else, or cleaner than what we have now. Other folks remember 3 Mile Island. You know, they don't want nuclear stuff in their backyard, but hey, it's a lot different now. Now there's also money behind it. Really? Are, what? About $45 million in federal funding tied to the Fuel Initiative. That's in all caps, so we know it's really good. It's an acronym. We know good things happen. So that's where.
Your hatred of acronyms.
Man, let me tell you something. I just don't understand. I'm just saying, if you go in an acronym, can you at least bring a key?
Well, have you noticed an increase in the use of acronyms since
Yes.
the rise of ChatGPT?
Okay. I haven't noticed the correlation, but yes, I could see where that could be a little. Hmm. Yeah, no joke. What are you putting in there? Give a cute little acronym.
Yeah.
I mean, that may make sense. Gosh, that was the fun before the whole Chat GPT. You know, who could come up with that stuff like Sarf? Meet them where they're at. Use the buzzwords. Use an acronym. You get a lot of things done. All right, so that's where that's workforce. But we're talking about a lot of stuff that comes with this, and workforce training is one of them. You know, a lot of times we've at least I've discussed the idea of all this stuff about going away from oil and gas. Well, you couldn't really just snap your fingers and get rid of oil and gas. One, should we? And two, the answer is no, but not right now at least. But if you are going to do it, I always say like, hey, come up with a 100-year plan. Come up
Yeah.
with a 50-year plan. Don't come up with a 5-day plan, but a 50 and 100-year plan. Maybe a 25-year, but man, I think that's pushing it. And you retrain and you do all that stuff, but you do it gradually. Anywhere from 25 to 100 years, Q. There you go. That's a small little range.
Hey, I was thinking we could do a 5-point plan with a blue ribbon commission.
Absolutely. You said commission, right?
Yep.
All right, cool. I'm going to throw in a panel.
And the good news is in that 25-year span,
Yes.
we'll have year one's plan
In a study.
in a study.
That was studied several times.
Well, we're going to need a new study
That's true.
because the technology that the original study was based
Yeah.
off of is just not going to be there anymore.
We'll study that too. All right. So, but a lot of workforce traded, a lot of research will come in, $45 million. A lot of that's to build out the pipeline to support this industry kind of long term. So, a lot of things moving over there. LSU is involved. You got community colleges involved. This is being built to scale. So now layer in the third piece. Entergy and the state are looking at expanding nuclear power itself. So we talked about manufacturing the components of it. They talked about those jobs that could come over from Texas. It's looking like it's coming over from Texas in the New Iberia in the Baton Rouge area. But now we're talking about, and Entergy is on board with this, of producing more electricity. And the reason that is being cited is demand. That makes sense. That makes sense. Things are different, specifically massive demand. Now, remember, we talked about our advancement of AI. The president wants America to be the AI capital, the AI hub. Well, Louisiana has pushed some AI initiatives as well. There are 18 bills in the Louisiana legislature, at least when the legislative session started, that is surrounding AI and governing it, and even, I would say, possibly incentivizing it, making it welcoming to do that type of operation, that industry. Well, these AI data centers take a lot of energy, lots and lots of energy. It is the future. Whether it's in Louisiana or not, Louisianans are going to be using, obviously, that technology a lot. And these data centers just put Louisiana, at least in the forefront. We'll see how it plays out. But we're also talking about, in regards to demand, industrial growth. And I think we should welcome that. You got chemical plants here. You got global markets all over the globe. Some of that stuff, some of that data could be fed through Louisiana and through these AI data centers. Could be some developments. Those take a lot of demand as far as energy. So nuclear gives you steady, around-the-clock energy, supporters of this initiative say. Kind of makes sense to me a little bit. Now, Louisiana already has 2 nuclear plants. You may not know that. Waterford 3 and Riverbend. You ever been to a nuclear facility?
No, but my first boss out of high school
Uh-huh.
actually wrote the control rod rotation for River Bend.
Really?
Yes.
No joke.
He linked together a bunch of IBM workstations, and he was able to take it from whoever built the plant to internal.
That's wild, man.
Yeah.
There you go. So yeah, but nuclear facility. Literally, the closest thing I ever got to was watching The Simpsons, and that's my that is my that's my education on nuclear facility. No, I got to hang around that technology a little bit when I was in office, just by being around LUS, just talking about it. No, there's no plans that I know of any nuclear coming to LUS. But we're building what's called a simple cycle facility over there in Lafayette, in one of the LUS facilities, and that's pretty big technology. Generate a lot of electricity for the ratepayers of LUS. But there were some discussions before that plant, before we made that decision to bring it to Lafayette and build it. There was discussions on, well, maybe nuclear could be an option. You know, being the best leader you can be, you try to see all your options, and it was fascinating.
Not to use one of the buzzwords, but resiliency after a
Yes,
hurricane.
no
My
joke.
biggest question is when is the power coming back? It seems like bringing back power generation into the city speeds that up.
That's a great point. There I still with this new techno. I say new. It's new to my understanding because we weren't talking about this. Had we been talking about this, perhaps we may have had some more town halls or something and saw what the folks what they needed, what they wanted. But this is neat because the way that the mobile modular systems, for lack of better words, these nuclear systems, um, not like you think with these big old stacks and with it's not smoke, but it's is it steam,
Steam.
yeah, steam coming out of these. I did see one in Arkansas, I believe, one time. Anywho, doesn't make me an expert. How much time we got, Q?
About 30 seconds.
That ain't right, Q. I was about to get on a roll. But you know what we're going to do? We'll take a tiny little break. And when we get back, let's finish this topic and so much more. All right, guys, stick around. Be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show, man. Let me tell you about my friends over there, Giles, Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. They always got something going on where the deals are hot, man. The customer service is always on point. And look, you want a good Nissan, you want a good, reliable vehicle that you know is going to take care of you and that you know that you're going to go get it at a place where it's good service. Giles Nissan. Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. You can't miss it, man. Go check them out. Tell them your friends Josh and Quentin said hello over there. Giles Nissan, Opelousas, Lafayette. Man, we're talking about these small modular reactions. All the cool kids say SMRs. I'm saying I'm meeting you where you at today with the acronyms. So small modular reactors. So they're designed to produce. This is just my tentative research, okay? Tentative, but roughly 50 to 300 megawatts of electricity per reactor module. That's pretty important. To put that in perspective, Lafayette's max capacity load is around 525 megawatts, okay? 500 to 550 megawatts is Lafayette or LUS. LUS is ratepayers. Ratepayers about 75,000 ratepayers. Okay, so um, 50 to 300 megawatts per one of these small modular reactors. So I was just curious. Well, what can these produce? What can it produce as far as like electricity wise? And it's pretty remarkable. So one SMR could produce anywhere from 50 to 300 megawatts. Okay, 50 to 300 megawatts. LUS is max capacity about or daily maximum load, what we can handle about 550. Um, so one would be 50 to 300 megawatts. Well, I'm thinking, whoo, that's not too bad. I mean, look, even if it's the low end 50, you get 10 of them bad boys for a hurricane or something like you said. You know what I mean? Like you can really light up the whole system. No big deal. How much them bad boys cost? They're mobile. They can't be that bad. You know what I'm saying? So look, I don't know. Some of these estimates are like $1 billion. You know what I mean? Some of them are a little bit more. So let's kind of do the math. When you look at low end, okay, and this is like just projections, tentative research, $1 billion. But realistically, the current range is probably about $1.5 to $3 billion right now. When these things rolled out, some earlier estimates were about 4 to 5 billion with a B. So you go back and you put yourself. Let's just use LUS as an example. LUS has a coal plant in Boyce that the city of Lafayette owns about half, 51%, close to 51%, with Clico and some other folks up there. Um, that coal plant had to be retired, so we had to make some decisions here and looking at cutting edge technology, looking at all the things that are available out there to replace that pretty significant storage. I think 200 to 250 megawatts. Lafayette's bringing in a simple cycle. Okay, cool. That's no big deal. Made sense at the time for sure, and it still does. When you look at the cost, though, it is not $1 billion. It's not even close. It's a fraction of that. So now you see why, and I'm giving you perspective from one utility system, which is LUS. That's just one. Okay, pretty well run one, pretty good machine. Um, great folks over there, and been around for over 100 years. So we kind of know a little bit. And but when you look at the state at those costs, I'm very curious, Q, what the costs are going to be whenever we really land on this. And are we how close are we to it? Because I would imagine those prices would go down with efficiencies, but you never know.
Absolutely. I mean, like you were saying, we were at 5 billion not long ago, down to one. If
Yeah.
we can continue to see maybe economies of scale to lower costs, or just additional research into building methodology, maintenance methodology, all that good stuff. Hopefully, we can continue to see that price go down and see this more modular and flexible system come online.
Yeah, I agree. You got to get those costs down though. So I'm curious to see the cost aspect. We saw 45 million coming in from the federal government, but that's not to necessarily build these things. That's to put in infrastructure, training, and a whole bunch of stuff that goes into it. So if you look at the cost of these SMRs, and you look at the small modular reactors, and if you look at maybe what the investment is just from the federal government standpoint in regards to putting laying down the infrastructure and the job training and things like that for these facilities. I say facilities, two of them, one in Iberia, one in Baton Rouge, that is anticipated of getting. And I'm gonna be very much curious. And we, in regards to hurricanes, we started in the south, the southern part of the state, Baton Rouge and New Iberia. You can always be Monday morning quarterback, hindsight's 20, but curious why we didn't start in like North Louisiana just for the hurricane stuff. Or maybe it's like, let's put one of these down here. We got two big, well, we got a big city, Baton Rouge, and we got New Iberia, which, Highway 90, two different sizes, perhaps.
Well, I remember New Orleans had put in a power generation facility in the city in conjunction with energy some years ago, with the idea being hurricane resiliency, or if their outside grid gets cut, they would be able to still produce power in the city.
Hmm.
Maybe they're looking at it more like that, with putting it in Iberia and Baton Rouge. A hurricane comes in, knocks out your transmission capability,
Yeah.
and you're left with, you have this modular nuclear reactor you can bring online and deliver power to your internal grid.
And this is, you think aren't there primates over there in New Iberia?
They are. They have the primate research facility in conjunction with UL.
So we can't be having the monkeys and not have no electricity.
Exactly.
I mean, you gotta have to help out Curious George.
Yes.
Come on now. So again, Louisiana, we already have two facilities. We have two nuclear facilities. Quentin's family basically built the water. You said your uncle worked at no Riverbend.
Not family. My first boss out of high school.
Oh, okay, cool. Yeah, yeah. So Riverbend and then Waterford 3. And they've been running for decades now, and they generate just those two facilities. They generate over 15% of the state's electricity. That's a lot. Just with two facilities, it's a lot. So the state isn't starting from zero. We're not novices to this. It's just building on something that's already here in Louisiana. Now, there's also some interest in small modular reactors. That's what we were just talking about. That's why I wanted to break in the cost first. So these SMRs, they're smaller, they're more flexible, they're nuclear units, and all of them can be placed near industrial sites. Think about refineries, think about manufacturing corridors. We talked about these AI data centers, but look at data centers, whether it's AI or something else. So that's where these things appear to be going. This is where they're going to probably pop up if we even go forward with it. So when we step back and we look at the full picture here, Louisiana is basically positioning itself to be a major player in nuclear energy. Manufacturing the parts, that's what we're talking about now with these jobs coming from Texas, or this one facility coming from Texas and splitting up going to Baton Rouge and New Iberia. But manufacturing the parts, training the workforce, we saw that investment, or we saw that money being spent from the federal government. Expanding generation, that's what the state is interested in. I am too. I'm always curious to see multiple ways on how we can generate electricity. You don't want to put all your eggs in one basket. If you can, it makes sense. And I don't know if this makes sense because I dropped those dollars down on what it costs, and I don't know if it makes sense. So, but one thing we do appreciate is preparing for next gen technology. And that's something, whoever's pushing that in Baton Rouge, giving you the benefit of the doubt, that's a good thing. Now, nuclear's back on the table. Nuclear's back on the table, for a couple reasons, and really it's two reasons: reliability and scale. So when you think about all the activity that goes into our state day to day, and when you're talking about natural disasters to economic opportunities, all of this makes of important note. So reliability and scale. Let's wrap a bow on this when we get back. We'll move on to another topic afterwards. But stick around, guys. We'll be right back. All right, welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the Josh Guillory Show. Shout out to my friends over there at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic. Man, you can't go wrong with Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic. Go check him out, man. If you you got any kind of symptoms, well, his approach is let's look at the symptoms, but let's go a little further deeper and let's see what's actually causing those prescriptions, yeah, symptoms. So maybe we can avoid some of those prescriptions. Who knows? But go check out Dr. Kevin at Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic right here in Lafayette, Louisiana, right off Ambassador Caffrey near STM. Dr. Kevin's Wellness Clinic, 983 CARE. Can't go wrong with that. Man, he was talking about that ATP stuff again. You saw that? You heard that the other day?
I did.
Talk about energy, your body's energy and things like that. Go ask him. 93 CARE, Dr. Kevin. Say, hey, we heard Josh and Q talk about this thing. I'm fascinated with it.
Same.
So we were talking about nuclear reaction last two segments. We'll move on past that into something other nuclear topics. Um, this one definitely is. But it will be interesting to see how the small modular reactors and that initiative goes forward in Louisiana. There's definitely a future to generating electricity and power. Nuclear seems to have evolved very, very safely and very rapidly a little bit as far as its delivery over the last 50 years. And I think that lawmakers are making note of that or taking note of that. And when you have a situation like this, you have a Texas facility that's wanting to move and moves into Louisiana. That's a very rare situation that we take someone from Texas to come here. And but that's fantastic. We'll take it, man. That's great news. So you're looking at employment opportunities, really good jobs here in New Iberia and Baton Rouge area. You're talking roughly 1,000 direct jobs. I think 1,300 indirect jobs. That's nothing to laugh at, and that's something that everybody should benefit from. So we want to employ. We want to encourage the economic development, and at the same time be very, very wise on our monetary investments. I didn't see any numbers as far as what we're going to put there, but right now we're only talking about a job that manufactures the parts. So this is not, the announcement is not nuclear energy is coming to New Iberia and Baton Rouge. It's this facilities coming in, basically opening two facilities, one in Baton Rouge, one in New Iberia, to possibly talk about the components and things like that. So we'll see. Obviously, it's in line. The next step would be, in my opinion, or one of the next steps would be generation, and maybe the prices will go down. But the prices that we saw, because I mean, if you're talking about like 25 million, shoot, you put up a couple of those in Lafayette and you're good. If a hurricane comes, and I mean, and forget a hurricane, you can generate. I mean, on these SMRs but not at $1 billion a price tag, and that's at the low end right now. It's really about 1.5 to 2, and that's just tentative research. Happy to be wrong on that. We'll keep looking into it. But let's, like I said, we got some other nuclear stuff we could talk about. How about these congressional maps?
Whoo! Radioactive.
They're still in the news?
They are. People are a little upset.
See, this is one of these where I remind myself, announce it and remind yourself to come back to it in 2 weeks. Because you will see this story. I mean, I'm getting whiplash from this. I mean, it's like they're valid map, not valid map. Going forward, pause. Going forward, pause. Don't even drawing the map. Even drawing the map, we had to go back and forth. Lawsuit. Courts intervene. I mean, this is a mess. But I mean, it really is kind of chaotic.
It is.
If you think about it. I mean, you have all these other states that are redistricting and doing all their things. No hitch. But somehow we're having a problem with this. But it all starts in when you create a Democrat seat in a majority Republican state. You know? But hey, look, even if we give the guys and gals pushing that back in, 2 years ago, even if it's for the right reasons and give them the benefit of the doubt, still, it's kind of like, man, we're still doing this? Still doing this?
The voting public has to be exhausted.
I'm tired of it.
Yes.
No, just tired. I want to land where we need to land, which is racism is out of the equation. So I think that's good. We're going there. So let's dive right in, okay? Because this is now hold on. We're going to tell you what it is as of the 4th. May the 4th be with you, by the way. And it's so corny. My daughter loves when I do that. But you already, if you've been keeping up with this, you kind of already know what the trigger is. The U.S. Supreme Court just ruled in a case that we're a part of, Louisiana versus Calais. Okay, so Calais is the case that's been the epicenter of all this. Congressional district, majority minority mandated districts. Okay, so basically districts based on race. That's what it is. And when you do that, it's racism. So the question becomes, is it justified racism? All right. Now, Calais comes, okay, well, that immediately, once the Supreme Court said, no, the Voting Rights Act, that particular provision, Clause 2 or whatever it was, that the Attorney General of Louisiana doing a great job over there with disregard, pivoting and saying, hey, it's unconstitutional, and the Supreme Court said, yes, you can't create a congressional district based solely on race. You can't do it. It can't even be the primary factor. It can be a factor, but it can't be the primary factor. So the court stepped in and drew some lines there, and that's what courts will do. The governor then issued an order suspending these congressional elections so that the state doesn't run them on a map that the court just rejected. Makes sense too. Makes sense. It makes sense to move. I'm just curious why in the summer of 2026, spring to summer of 2026, are we doing this? And you could easily argue, well, it was because we were waiting on the Supreme Court. We were waiting on the courts. It's a valid reason. Um, I just, it's just a thought. Why didn't we have these maps already made?
That is a good point.
And if you're gonna go now, someone messaged me the other day, a buddy of mine. He said, "Well, they'll just go back to the old maps." That's true, possibly. And I don't know, but I think they had a map already drafted off the last census that was a one district where it was majority minority. I think it's already drawn under the new census. I could be wrong, but it can't take that long. I mean, it can't take that long. So, but that's where we are, and here's where it is now, though. So multiple lawsuits have been filed, trying to force these elections kind of to go forward. So we'll take a tiny little pause. When we get back, let's talk about the litigation climate. Let's talk about what's before the court. Where do we go from here on this? Because this impacts us all. And we have a U.S. House election on pause. Stick around, guys. We'll be right back. Welcome back to the Josh Guillory Show. This segment brought to you by my friends over there at Stan's Auto. You can't go wrong with Stan's Auto. Saw them over the weekend. Just very, very great guys over there. By the way, they do sell tires, and I didn't even know that. So you go in there, you can get your oil change, you can get your engine worked on, you can get your what you tell me? You run into a concrete barrier jumps out in front of you and hits the side of your Jeep. It happens. It happens. You can go get that fixed. No big deal. Get a little fender, get a little scratches out. It's all good. But go visit Stan's Auto. 2 locations: Lafayette, New Iberia. One off of Admiral Dole in New Iberia. The other off of Johnson Street and Doucet here in Lafayette. So we're talking about the congressional maps in Louisiana, or the congressional map in Louisiana. Recall it was deemed unconstitutional by the U.S. Supreme Court based on you can't create a district solely based on race, and that's what the Supreme Court said. This particular current map, with 2 out of 6 districts being a majority minority, that Justice Alito wrote the opinion basically saying you can't discriminate based on race. That's racism, and it's not justified. You can consider race, but you can't make it the primary factor. Well, as you can imagine, the governor comes in, he halts, he pauses. Him and the AG announce that Louisiana pauses the U.S. House elections in Louisiana pending this map situation. And as you can imagine, multiple lawsuits have been filed trying to force those elections back on track. And not just one case, by the way. Not just one case. This is several coming from different angles in both federal and state court. One of the main federal lawsuits includes Representative Cleo Fields and a group of candidates. They're arguing that the state basically it crossed the constitutional line by stopping an election after voting had already started. That's an interesting point. Absentee ballots were already out. You and I talked about that last week. We're like, wait a minute, hold on. What do you do with those? Their claim is that halting the process mid-cycle, well, it violates constitutional protections. Where? Including equal protection, I don't see that, and voting rights under the 1st, 14th, and 15th Amendment. I do not see that. Man, go read the 14th and 15th Amendment. This is so, go read it, lawyer, but go read it. I know exactly. You know what party was fighting the 14th and 15th Amendment? The Democrat Party. Badly, by the way. Badly. So, yeah. They want to, and it took 100 years to the Civil Rights Act of 1964 for any of those constitutional provisions that the Republican Party fought so hard for on the 14th and 15th Amendment to guarantee rights to these newly freed slaves. It took 100 years. You know why it took 100 years? Because of the Democrat Jim Crow policies that they implemented in the South. So I'm just saying history, but yet somehow we went through a little period. I blame it's the Dixiecrat transition. We had about 20 years of that racism that plagued our party, that mentality that I think is starting to wash out, which is good. But anyway, these plaintiffs want the court to step in immediately. These candidates and these political groups say, hold on, that's not fair. We've been campaigning on this district. We've been sending out stuff. We got voting. We got people hopping in and out of elections trying to find their home in congressional districts, getting endorsements, dang it. Jeez, this is a big deal. They want the court to step in immediately and restore the original election schedule of the one that just got overturned, because I don't know if I'd call it the original one, and make sure every ballot already cast gets counted under that original plan. Well, you can't. Do you pause the other one? This election's done. I mean, whether you like it or not, plaintiffs, Representative Fields, or anybody, that election is not going far. Okay, so if we do what you say to do and count the votes, count them to what? A map that is unconstitutional? If the map is unconstitutional, here's another thing. When you want to argue the Constitution, when the map is already deemed unconstitutional, it doesn't matter if it is constitutional in any other part. Meaning, well, the First Amendment guarantees it's unconstitutional. And I don't understand that First Amendment argument. I can understand the 14th and 15th North Carolina Party, state and all that stuff, but I understand it doesn't mean I agree with it. But I don't even understand the First Amendment argument. I really don't. If you want to run in the district. Run in the district you live in. Whatever that may be.
Right.
Or guess what? In Congress, you don't even have to live in the district. So run for whatever seat you want to run for. Does Garrett Graves run if the district go back?
I don't think so.
He's done?
I don't think he's done. I don't think he's looking to return to Congress.
I know he's done with Congress. What I meant.
Oh yes.
Yeah.
I think so. I think
he's eyeing a different office.
My guess would be he's looking at something statewide in Louisiana.
Yeah. So governor, Senate.
Yep.
Yeah.
Because if I'm not mistaken, he still has a decent war chest from when he didn't run the last time.
That's true too. So you can use that for a U.S. Senate run.
Yes.
And is there a way to? You were talking about this the other day. I don't understand you would think I would. I don't understand these rules though. But I mean, it's probably easy to figure out. So federal money you can't use for state, or you can.
You can. There's a process to get it into a statewide.
And for state, can you use state money for federal election, or is the same kind of, you have to do a process?
I believe the federal process prohibits that transaction.
Oh, I knew it was one of them was allowed more freely than the other one. Okay, cool. So what would you have to do? Like if you had a state, let's say, a statewide, the treasurer, well, he is running for U.S. election. So his war chest or his money in his state treasurer campaign, he has to keep it in that.
Well, he could, in theory, donate it to a 501c4.
Okay.
I think he could possibly donate it to an IEC.
What's an IEC?
Expenditures Only Committee, but that's me speculating as well.
So he might have some, like someone in that situation would possibly have some options, but we don't necessarily know them, but we know that there's possible. Yeah, okay, I get it. It's easier though to do it the other way.
Yes.
Federal to state, not state to federal.
Much easier.
Okay, all right. So that puts things in perspective, which in Garrett Graves' situation, which I always like Representative Graves working with him. He wasn't the congressional. His district obviously wasn't Lafayette. That's Clay Higgins, which I big time super support. and he was great working with. But I remember I always appreciated the Congress folks that were not in our district that would at least take our calls and help us and try to point us in the right direction. I remember working on I-49 and Congressman Graves at the time telling me how important it is to his district too about taking pressure off the Baton Rouge Bridge and stuff like that. So good folks. But look, we'll take a tiny little pause. Actually, that's the whole hour. And doggone it, Quinn, that went fast. We'll talk about these maps when we come back in hour number 2, and I can't wait. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to hour number 2 of the Josh Guillory Show. I remain your very grateful host. And in studio with me still, Q Money Magic Man. What up, Q?
Man, I was thinking about what I'm going to eat when I leave here.
I already know. I already know. I'm telling you, I'm driving right down Bertrand. I'm going right to Dino's.
It's time for another Marie Laveau.
See, Marie Laveau, I am hooked on that Jacques Boudreaux, man. Golly.
I'm a sucker for the local crab meat.
Yeah, well, that's the thing with Dino's. You go and it's the ingredients, and I'm telling you, my wife's a little health nut, and she, I only got past her on the Jacques Boudreaux because of the ingredients. She's like, oh, they're local, they're healthy, or they're not frozen from doggone Ukraine or something. But you want some of that Ukraine crawfish?
Speaking of radioactive.
Yes, yeah, no joke. I was thinking something like that.
Straight from Chernobyl.
Yes. So let's go back to these congressional districts. This map in Louisiana. So remember, we created we had a 1 out of 6 seats that was majority minority, and basically a Democrat seat, and our state chose to create a second one. And there were some reasons why that happened. Okay, we move on, and then mid-course, Louisiana changes its course and says, well, hold on, we're not actually thinking that this map that we had with 2 out of 6, we're thinking that might be unconstitutional. It might be racist. Might violate the Voting Rights Act, okay? Goes all the way to the Supreme Court. Supreme Court in Louisiana versus Calais says, yeah, you're right. It is racist to just create a map based on race. Okay, common sense prevails. What's interesting is 3 of the Supreme Court justices disagreed, and I just politely offer, if it would have been a majority white district, would it have been a 6-3 vote? No, it probably would have been a 9-0 vote. It probably would have been a 9-0 vote. But regardless, we're here. And now Louisiana legislators and the governor and everybody's going back to the drawing board, and they're saying, we got to create this map to be constitutional now, and it should only be one or no majority. One race over another race is as the factor. I'm going to try to call racism as much as I possibly can in different ways. That's what I'm trying to do. I don't understand how we don't. It's 2026. That's all I'm saying is 2000. Man, it's 2026, man. Like, dude, jeez. So anyway, at the same time over here, you got the maps, like I said, being challenged, but you have candidates. Well, excuse me, let me pause. So the governor comes in, the AG, and says, we're pausing the House elections. Everything else can go forward. We just need to figure out this map situation. Well, at the same time, you got all these federal and state lawsuits that are being filed by these candidates saying, man, we've already been campaigning. Early voting started. What is your problem pausing this election? So you got the federal stuff. That was Representative Cleo Fields and a few other plaintiffs that I recall. But at the same time, you got these state level lawsuits hitting the same issue from a different direction. Democrat lawmakers, civil rights groups, and individual voters have filed suit saying that the governor overstepped his authority by using an executive order to suspend the elections. Their position is that there was no qualifying emergency under Louisiana law that justifies stopping a federal election that's already in motion. Okay, well, let's just talk about that, okay? Y'all don't think it's an emergency when a process has been deemed unconstitutional? You think that it would be so? You think all these plaintiffs, you objectively and honestly and realistically think that that's okay? Like it's okay? Like we should go far because you already started a process based on an unconstitutional map. What do we not? Once the well is poisoned by a drop of unconstitutionality, the entire thing is poisoned. It don't matter if you say, "Well, but we got rights under the 14th Amendment." Dude, it's there's another part. Uh, that's why we could have an equal protection discussion, and I think it would pass muster. And I'll tell you, when you it's they're talking out of two sides of their mouth. And if we could go, and if we have enough time to get into our next topic, which I think we will, it just shows, it highlights the hypocrisy of some of these actors. I mean, the plaintiffs are basically asking courts to block the order and force the election to proceed based on an unconstitutional map. You see, so because there is another side there. But Q, what you think about all this silliness? Huh? It's kind of crazy, don't you think?
It's so confusing to try to follow, and that's as someone who's read about it extensively throughout the entire process. Like if someone asked me to draw a timeline, I'm not sure if I could, and that's concerning. Like when it comes down to congressional maps and congressional elections, we shouldn't need two ink pens to draw one map.
No joke, huh? Yeah, right. We should. Yeah, I like that. Um, a lot of folks though. I mean, I heard Moon say it, and I heard a lot of other folks say it. We didn't even need this second map.
No,
And it goes to show you there was a lot of people arguing that from the get go, saying, "Why are we even doing this? This is all political or something."
I mean to me, not only was it an unforced error, it was an unnecessary inning.
And we got the speaker that I'm just look. I'm not here to beat a dead horse. I'm really not. I'm not here. The vote was the vote. We created a district that favored the Democrat Party in a very small majority that we had. We chose to do that. We're here now. And I'll applaud the Attorney General and anybody else in Louisiana leadership that said, you know what, maybe we should pivot and ask the court to really say that the district's unconstitutional. It's unusual to see that midstream. That's quite interesting. But I applaud them because they pivoted to do the right thing. I'm not gonna sit here and harp on, well, yeah, but first they did this. Well, who cares? I don't care what motivated them. Was it political? Was it the backlash from all the Republicans in this state saying, what are you doing? I don't know, and I don't care because the right thing happened. The right thing happened when the AG and the governor or whoever else in the state of Louisiana chose to pivot during this litigation and say, we're not going to support anymore the two majority minority districts because it's racist to do so. Boom. And they pivot and they argue it, and the Supreme Court agreed. I think that's good leadership. Leaders change their mind based on the circumstances, and that's okay. That is okay. You don't want to keep pushing a square peg through a circle hole, okay? It just it just is not it's not as efficient, Q.
I agree.
I mean, you can eventually get the dang thing in there, but something's gonna break.
I I agree.
All right. Let's switch gears though, okay? Let's switch gears, but on the same token of hypocrisy, a little. Well, that last one wasn't hypocrisy. I take that back. But this one right here. So, all right. I don't even know if you can make it up. You have a Democrat running for U.S. Senate, okay, in Michigan, Mallory McMurrow. Well, she just got caught trying to explain why she voted in California while saying she had already moved to Michigan. And her explanation is, well, Quentin, moving takes time. That's the defense. She says it was a 2-year transition. Man.
Well, that's something.
Well, that's about the speed of bureaucrats in government.
I thought I took a while to unpack boxes, but man, that's an
2 years.
entirely different
She's still
dimension.
unpacking. She just changed. So She says it was a 2-year plan. Still had a place in California, she said. Man, these Democrats are living high. Still had ties there. So she voted there. Big deal. Doesn't matter if she doesn't live there. Now layer this in. I mean, think about it. So you have property there you can vote?
Yeah, I mean,
Man, so all these people. So if I go buy a half an acre of cornfield in Iowa, not Iowa, I'm talking about where Joni Ertz is, okay, in Iowa. All right, finding $1.2 trillion and not dropping a bill to cut the spending. But anyway, yeah. So I can vote in Iowa. I can go vote in the presidential election, the whatever it is, the primary.
well, I think Democrats like to say that land doesn't vote.
Yes, exactly, exactly. Oh my gosh, these folks, man. So layer this in, though. All right, same person has said before that voting in a state you don't live in is illegal if you do it intentionally. We'll come back to that. All right, guys, stick around. We'll be right